I have with me Dr. Richard Scott GP. Hello, my friend Richard. How are you?
All the better for being here, I must say.
Absolutely, yes. I see your face and my day gets brighter. It is true.
Well, as we both say about ourselves, we've got good faces for radio.
We have got very good faces for radio. Absolutely. Right. So let's have a quick summary. Last week, we were looking at fasting. What is it? What's the medical good or bad of it? Should we be doing it? Should we not do it? What do we need to think if we're going to consider it? All that kind of stuff was last week. Before we get into some questions, have you got any reflections on last week?
Well, do you know something? I've known for years that I ought to fast much more often than I do. And then having done this talk, I said to myself, well, you can't just preach to everybody else. You've got to apply it. And then there I was in church on Sunday, and blow me, the preacher also talked about fasting. So, if God isn't trying to get through to my thick skull, I don't know what he's doing. So I'm not going to say what I'm going to do, but I am going to fast between Palm Sunday and Easter Sunday. So my reflection is, I need to do it, I'm going to do it, and after doing it, we'll have a chat about it.
That sounds like a good plan. Right. I'm just setting my questions on my computer so I can see you and them. Right. Let's just rattle through these then. One person, please tell Richard how much I enjoyed the episode on fasting. Really interesting. So there's a nice little comment for you. Right. I'm not sure if he covered it last week, but is fasting something you can build up to? So maybe you start by missing a meal, then 2 meals, and eventually go a whole day without eating.
Completely correct. And some people just start bang, but other people think it's much more sensible to build up, a little bit like building up exercise. And in a sense, if you think of fasting as a form of spiritual exercise, that would make sense. So yes, absolutely, you could build up.
Yes, little by little, slow baby steps is a good thing, isn't it?
Sure.
Okay, likewise, same person. Is it something you get used to? I can see where this is going. Is it something you get used to after you've done it a few times?
Well, I'm not sure you're speaking to the right person because I'm not a great faster, but I'm going to improve. But from what I hear from other people, absolutely that's the case, which is why you build up and then you can maintain it at the level like my friend Andy C, who fasts every week for one whole day at a time. So absolutely, you could build up to it and you can get used to it.
And then another one. I've never been big on fasting in the past, but equally, most churches I've been to have never taught any practicalities of it at all. As someone with a fast metabolism, is it naturally more difficult for me? I definitely get grumpy if I do not eat regularly. Is that normal?
Well, there's two aspects to that question. One is you're absolutely right, and I haven't really heard any teaching on fasting. I know that my daughter's church, as I mentioned last time, had a month of fasting, and as I don't go to that church, it's in the middle of the time in the south. I didn't hear the details, but you're quite right. I haven't really heard any proper teaching. Maybe we ought to give some. That's a good prompt. Now that's that side of the question. Sorry, I didn't quite catch the last part. Just remind me again.
As someone with a fast metabolism, is it naturally more difficult for me? I definitely get grumpy if I do not eat regularly. Is that normal?
Well, here's the thing. I know a friend who refuses to fast because he says, "Oh, it's just very difficult for me." Now that suggests it's more difficult for some people than others, which, to be fair, it might be. As with other people say with a bad anger, trying to remain calm, or somebody who isn't very good at praying. Oh, it's very hard for me. Well, I think, to be honest, I'm not someone I'm not looking forward to fasting. But I think, to be honest, it's more of a decision. So if you've got a fast metabolism, you think it's going to be particularly difficult, well, go gently. But I don't see anywhere in the Bible that says only fast if you have a slow metabolism. So I think we're all called to fast, but for some people it will be easier than others. But that doesn't stop anyone doing it. And I think all these spiritual disciplines, whether it's reading the Bible, going to church, praying, singing, fasting, some people will be naturally better than others, but we're all called to do them. So don't let that put you off. Just go gently.
But do go gently, but do go and do it. Have a go. I actually do miss fasting. I like fasting. I haven't fasted for a while because of heart issues and getting all that checked out. But it's something I enjoy. I can't say I'm good at it. That's a whole other conversation for another debate for another day. But I do enjoy the effect of having said I've had a fast and the closest that I personally feel to God as a result of fasting.
Sure, sure. So you've got more experience than me on this, Andy, and I think, yeah, I'd absolutely recommend. If the Bible tells us to fast, Jesus says when you fast, not if you fast. He says when you fast. Well, that's pretty clear. So I don't think we should let excuses stop us. But equally, if it's not easy and it's your first time, just start gently.
Yep, no, gentle's good. Okay, another one. I heard that a 30-day fast could deal with cancer, although I think it's a bit far-fetched. I wondered if there was anything to it.
I've not read that one or heard it. Um, we know that the benefits of fasting include reducing inflammation. I haven't heard that it specifically reduces cancer. It does seem to be good for the body generally. So it might, if one fasted regularly, it might logically reduce your chance of getting cancer, but I certainly wouldn't use it as a primary treatment for cancer. I haven't read that one, to be honest, so I can't say definitely yes. We know that fasting is good for us. That's all I can say. Nothing specific on cancer.
Actually, I was thinking about when you fast, there's quite a few pieces in the Bible where it's not if this is a struggle, it's like when you struggle with this, do that. When you are anxious, bring it to God. Don't be anxious, but when you are, come to me. So if we can all be anxious, we can all be fasting as well, because it's the same wording, isn't it, really?
Bring it to God. Absolutely.
Right. Okay. Another one. Well, I can't see that one. Hang on. Right. Right. Hey, question for Dr. Richard Scott. I have a couple of questions regarding side stitches. I seem to get them often during cardiovascular exercise. We've moved off fasting anyway. I seem to get them often during cardiovascular exercise, and I was wondering if you have any advice on how to prevent them, and also the best thing to do if and when I get one.
Right. Well, usually, a stitch means there's buildup of lactic acid in the muscles of your side. And that happens during exercise because we build up lactic acid in exercise. Now, a common way of getting that is if you eat too close to exercise. So all the blood supply goes to your stomach to digest your food. Therefore, not enough goes to the muscles of breathing, the intercostal muscles, etc., which then build up lactic acid, and you get a stitch. So make sure when you exercise, the best time to exercise, I find, is at least 3 hours after a meal. Now, don't be, ravenously hungry because then you won't exercise well. But you mustn't exercise too close to food because that's just not fair on the body, and you'll get more stitches. If you get one, you have to stop exercising, just rub the muscles. Some people can find they can then exercise again straight away. Others, you might just have to wait for a bit. But I think the most important thing is prevention. And from my own personal experience as someone who's keen on running, I get stitches more commonly, A, if I've exercised too close to food, or B, jumped it up too much without slowly progressing. So, and those are my tips. Really. Rub it if you get it, and don't run too close to food.
Sorry for the not gentle moving from fasting there. I was just reading through the questions without checking. Right. Okay. Another one. I understand that lying flat on the ground aids circulation and is especially beneficial after exercise. Is this true? If so, what are the benefits?
Now, again, I would dispute that one because I remember when I was playing hockey for university teams, we were always encouraged after a hard run, don't lie flat, stand up. You're trying to get some air in your lungs, and you breathe better standing up than you do lying down, which is why people have been in bed too long with recovering from an illness or an operation. We try as doctors to sit them up as quickly as possible and to get people up. It just gets the body going better, not least through aerobic, trying to get air into your lungs more effectively. So I'm not convinced by the lying down after exercise. That's not what I'm familiar with. It's actually more a question of standing up, walk around, make sure you loosen down your muscles, which again you can't do so easily. Lying down because you want to train down as well as when you warm down with your muscles, it's much better when you're standing up. So I would dispute that one.
Rightio. And then one last one. I came across a study which links drinking just 2 fizzy drinks a week to a higher risk of cardiovascular disease. I'm curious to know what Dr. Richard Scott thinks of this.
Well, it won't be the bubbles, it'll be the sugar in the drinks. And we know that lots of fizzy drinks have had terrible press over the last few years by adding so much sugar into the body. You can get some of these smoothies are absolutely terrible for sugar content. So I think that's where it'll come in. The cardiovascular disease will be, it cannot possibly be anything to do with bubbles, that's for sure. But it will be to do with the content of the drink. It's too sugary, it's not good for you, and therefore it's not good for your heart or your blood vessels.
I'm sure I remember a long time ago, somebody said, if you're drinking, for example, a bottle of Coke, it's not a drink, it's not water. Therefore, if you have a bottle of Coke, you still need to have a drink because it's just not the same as a bottle of water.
It depends how strong the Coke is, how concentrated. So when I'm advising people in their drinking, particularly if you're trying to rehydrate yourself, say after exercise, don't just have an orange juice, dilute it. You need to get enough. It's all about the amount of water. Coke actually isn't too bad, I find. It's quite good for rehydrating. It's got lots of minerals in it. But you need to have plenty of water as well as the what you call the solute, the concentrate within it. So yeah, water's the key. But equally after exercise, if you've sweated a lot and got rid of sodium, potassium, then yeah, that's where your Cokes and Lucozades, etc., provide some help. But keep it dilute.
Diluted. Yeah, water's good though. Just it's God's given us water, and water is good for the body. It's good for the soul.
Water as adults and 90% as babies. So we are literally 7/10 water. Hard to imagine, but it's true.
Yeah, no, that doesn't make sense in my head.
But it's true. We are 70% water.
That's quite cool. Right, that's all the questions we've got. So we've been looking at fasting, and I really do miss fasting. I think sometimes Joe and we'll have some prayer time, and what fasting has done for us is it concentrates you specifically because you're giving up what you want to have, your lunch, your breakfast, whatever. And as a result of not eating, it does help you to concentrate on the prayer. So a few times we've had some really big decisions to make, and fasting has factored into that. It doesn't do some sort of special magical thing, but it does help you to focus and really concentrate on the very essence of what you're trying to pray about or to focus on or consider. And that's one of those where I think fasting is good, but we can fast for different reasons. But let's go back to last week, 16 hours, that was the magic number, wasn't it? I say magic
16
carefully.
stroke 8. So 16/8 means 16 hours without food, 8 hours with food. So particularly good would be 8 p.m. to 12 lunchtime the next day. Absolutely.
No, 16 hours. I miss fasting. I have to be honest. It's something that I miss doing. Joe and we mentioned this last week, but I'll touch on it again. We used to fast every week, once or twice a week, a 2/3 day fast. So breakfast and lunch would be skipped. And it was a really good discipline. And the thing with discipline is it's quite hard to do, but you only really get to achieve the discipline by doing and doing and doing.
Well, one of the things I love about the idea of fasting is it's so illogical from a human point of view. Because from a human point of view, you think, I'm not eating, I'm going to be grumpy, I'm going to be concentrated on my stomach. You can know all these negatives, and the devil, of course, will play into that. But what we don't realize is that God's ordained it, therefore it's a good idea. And actually, if it brings us closer to God, all of these things are just minor irritations in contrast to the wonderful spiritual benefits we get. So, whenever, hopefully your listeners and me, myself, in a few days' time are fasting, don't concentrate on the bad stuff. Just ignore that. Think, wow, God is not only going to, not only going to get closer to him. The Bible says, as we read last week, there will be benefits. God will bless us as a result. Who wouldn't want that? So let's go in with a positive frame of mind, positive mindset.
Yeah, it's true though, isn't it? If we go and I'm going to be hungry, I'm going to be fed up, I'm going to be grumpy, we're building up this kind of this wall we've got to shift through, which we don't need just because we're going with a bad mental attitude. And although positive attitude it ain't going to fix a broken leg, but it might get you to the hospital quicker.
A nice illustration.
Right, Richard, have we got next week's topic sorted out?
So yes, we have, and we're going to talk about the benefits of singing.
Ooh.
Have come up in some of my reading, and So I'm thinking, well, that's not interesting. It's another example of something that we do as Christians. And, we know that the Bible really kind of sing a new song unto the Lord, all the Psalms. But now, guess what? Science is discovering it's a good thing to do. Well, there's a surprise. But actually, isn't it interesting that science just catches up down the road? And I'll be interested to look into what the science behind the benefits from singing are. So that's where we're going. I can't imagine there's going to be downsides. If there are, because we're honest on this program, I'll bring them up. But I'm just looking forward to seeing what the science is behind singing.
Fabulous. Well, that's next week. If you've got any topical issues you've seen in the news that you would like Dr. Richard to take a little bit of a look at, you can email those to us here in the studio. hello@pure247radio.org. hello@pure247radio.org. Any news items and any longer issue thoughts, medical questions you've got, you can send them to us as well, as anonymous as you like. We won't read out your name, where you live. That's fine. We'll keep it private. But yeah, let us know. And Richard, as ever, thank you. I really, really enjoyed the one on fasting. It really captivated something inside me that I found really exciting.
Well, thank you. But we don't want that just to be the sort of top of the range. It's good, but we want to keep the program interesting, as with all the new topics as well. So I would just endorse what you said to the listeners. Do bring something up that you think, oh, that's really challenged me, or I don't get this, and we'll have a look at the suggestions, and that'll help us both decide where we go from here on. Because we want to scratch where people itch.
Absolutely, but carefully, and apply cream occasionally, and get medical advice if you need to. Richard, as ever, thank you.
Bless you, mate. Thanks.